Okay, guys, so I'm going to introduce logarithmic form to you guys. This is what the word looks like. Logarithmic. All right, don't panic about it. It's not that big of a deal. It's just something a little bit new, but really all it is the inverse of exponent form. And so I'm going to show you what the difference is between that. Okay. And this stuff is all in your book, but I know how you like to hear it and see it. So I'm going to try to do it this way for a little bit and see how it goes. So exponential form and logarithmic form. I'm just going to write log form. Okay. You guys are very used to seeing exponential form where we have a base and we have an exponent and then we have the answer. Okay, b to the y equals x. So log form is simply being able to write that in a different way. We say the log of b, the b goes down here. Let me just write it out and then you guys will be able to say it better for you here. It's hard to say it and talk at the same time. So it's just a different form of writing it. And we're going to use these different ways and we're going to, learn how to go back and forth between them. And then we're going to learn how to solve equations with them. Okay. Because they're inverses of each other. So when we look at this, we know that this is the base and this is the exponent. And then in the middle here, we have essentially the answer. Okay. Or the solution. All right, so we're just saying b to the y equals x. So log base b of x equals y. It's just something to get used to, and we can go back and forth between these. That's really what your homework is going to be tonight. So let me just show you how that looks so you can get used to it. If we are going from log to exponent form, okay, we'll do some examples of that right now. So if I give you log base 5, 125 equals 3. Well, how would I write that as exponent form? Well, as I said, this right here is our base. So I would say 5. And then this, remember, is our exponent. I know I'm getting my colors all mixed up here. 5 to the third equals 125. Okay, that's my exponent form. That's all we're doing. We're just rearranging stuff and you got to kind of get used to seeing it. So another example, if I gave you log base 3 of 3 equals 1, how would I write that in exponent form? Well, here's my base, 3, and then I look over here to the first power equals 3. Okay, is it starting to come together a little bit? We can even do something like this, which, of course, if you're used to looking at exponents a little bit, it'll be easier. Log base 10, which, by the way, if there's nothing there, if there's no base there, then we can assume it's a base 10. Okay, but since you're new at this, I'll put in log base 10 of 0.01 equals -2. Well, we know that this is our base. Write it down first. Then we look over here. That's our exponent. And that equals 0.01 or 1 over 100, right? Because this equals, essentially, we put it in the basement, right? Which is equal to 1 over 100, which is the same as 100th. Okay? So that is going from log to exponent form. Now we're going to go from exponent to log form. Really the same thing, just going backwards here. So if I gave you 2 to the 4th equals 16, how would we write that in log form? Well, remember, with logs, our base goes down here. And then this number is next. 2 to the what power equals 16? 2 to the 4th power, right? because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, all right, equals 16. So that's what we're saying. 2 to the fourth power equals 16. So it's like we go like this. 2 to the fourth power equals 16. Okay, let's look at another example here. 10 to the 0 power equals 1. Remember that little tidbit that everybody always forgets? Okay, well, if we write that in log form, our base is 10. Our answer is 1. 10 to the what power equals 1? 10 to the 0 power equals 1. Okay, so that you know that any log that there's a 1 here, the answer is going to be 0. Okay. So a little bit more with a fraction and a negative here. If I gave you 2 to the negative third equals 1/8, okay, which you know that's true because this would be 1 over 2 to the third, right, is going to be 1/8. But how do I write that in log form? Well, I've got log, what's my base? My base is 2. My answer is 1/8. And my exponent is negative 3. Okay, so you got to kind of get used to going back and forth between that. Now, here's another one that might trip you up a little bit. If I gave you, we're kind of going back to the other one now, log base 3 is 1 over 81. All right, if I wanted to evaluate that, that would mean, evaluating this would mean, what is it going to be? Well, the best way to do this is to write it in exponential form. Okay, so we're going to write 3 to the what power equals 1 over 81. Well, that turning into a fraction tells me that y has got to be a negative number. Y must be negative because I had to put stuff in the basement, right? I had to put this number into the basement. So that means it's going to be something negative. All right, and it's going to be y, y, or 1 over 3 to the something down here. Okay, what is that going to be? Well, 3 times 3 gives me 9, times 3 gives me 27, times 3 gives me 81. Okay, so that means that this is going to be 3 to the negative fourth equals 1 over 81. Therefore, y equals negative 4, and that's my answer. So the best way to evaluate is to put it into exponential form. See if we can get you another example here before I let you try it on your own on the homework. Let's see, if we are going to evaluate log base 2 of 8. Well, what is that going to equal? Let's put it into exponential form. 2 to the y, to what power, 2 to what power equals 8. That's how you have to think. You have to go 2 to what power equals 8. Okay, and you can figure that out. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Therefore, 2 to the third power equals 8, and y equals 3. That's your answer. Okay, let's do another one. Log base 5, 25. Okay, I got to figure out what y is. I'm going to put it into exponential form. 5 to the what power equals 25. 5 to what power equals 25? And you should easily know that that is 2. Right? 5 times 5 is 25. How about log base 2, 1/4? Set it equal to y. 2 to what power equals 1/4? 2 to what power equals 1/4? Well, you got something in the basement, means that that y has to be negative. Okay, so it's got to be a negative number, and 2 to what power is going to give me 4? 2 to the second power, but because it's a 1/4, it's going to be a negative 2 as your final answer. Okay, we're going to do one more. Log base 9 is 3. So what's my exponent going to be? Well, 9 to what power equals 3? Now you might be thinking 2, but 9 squared is not going to be 3. It's going to be 81. However, if you process through it a little bit, you'll see that 9 to the 1/2 equals 3. Okay. That's the whole square root thing, right? Just think through it. Like, what's the relationship between those numbers? Well, the square root of 9 equals 3. Okay, what's another way to write the square root of 9? You may recall from last chapter that, or maybe it's this chapter, that 1/2 is another way to write the square root of 9 equals 3. Therefore, y equals 1/2. Okay, so go back and look at these examples. They're in your book if you need them. And you're just going to be practicing going back and forth between log form and exponent form and also evaluating some of them. You're going to do great.